One more cute little movie without words. It's only like 15 seconds long or so. They could have made this a little bit longer, but this is just the basic nuts and bolts function of the screw feeder to pump. That was it. Kind of show you the internals, how it's functioning. It's just kind of a cute little movie, that's all. All right. Okay. Come on. Okay, for your pre-start checks for starting up the pump, obviously number one, go up and you fill the water box and do a walk around the equipment, make sure nuts and bolts and hoses and everything are all tight, you don't see any leaks going on, so on and so forth. You want to check your, make sure you got water in the water box. Again, check your gear lube oil level in the gearbox of the screw feeder. Make sure you can see it in the sight glass on the back side. We'll point that out when we're up there on the floor. Some of these things, obviously, you're not going to check rotation of the motor and all that kind of stuff. These are all pre-starts for us when we come out here, but you know, check your mounting bolts, make sure they're all installed, snugged up. Make sure once you've hit started up the power pack that the greaser light comes on, that there's power to the greaser. If you see it run, that's good. From time to time you might want to just push the little green button. I'll show you which one it is. Make sure it cycles, make sure it's functioning properly. Hey, keep an eye on the level in the reservoir, the grease reservoir. If you see it starting to go low, tell maintenance they can fill it up, because you don't want that bearing hanger or packing gland back there to get dried up. You'll wear them out very quickly. Pump control functions, you turn on make sure you turn on the breaker. Now your power panel has two different power sources. You got the main disconnect, which you kind of see his hand right here. It's not like this switch, but yours is a knife switch type disconnect on the front of that panel. That doesn't kill your 110. 110 comes from a source inside the electric room there by the, what do you call that? The dog pit, I call it. What is it? Yeah.
What number it's supposed to be.
Yeah. Anyway, it's breaker number 12. That's all I know in that first panel. But anyway, that's what kills the 110. So basically, you can go in there and you can be pushing that darn button and it says start, 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 and load and everything, and it's not going to do anything because the knife switch isn't turned on. That's your 480 volt coming from the MCC over there, your higher voltage. So Just be aware that there's two different power sources and they both got to be on. Make sure your E-stops are all pulled. Just got to give it a quick little turn and it'll pop back out again if it is pushed. And a lot of times, you know, people walking around upstairs, they'll be yakking or whatever, they'll lean over and accidentally hit that E-stop, never know they even did it. But so just be aware sometimes it's a real simple issue that keeps you locked out. Make sure you check your local remote switch on the front of the control panel. It's a keyed switch right on the front. If you're in the operation room or something and you're just not getting any response, go out and check that key. Make sure it's in the remote mode. Could be maintenance forgot to flip it over when they were doing local operation or something. Check for any alarms on the screen. You can clear those. And here's the primary screen. They've got them changed a little bit from what we have here in the O&M because operations wanted a different little picture or they wanted more information, and so the screens are not identical to this, but this gives you a pretty good gist of what is there. You got screw feeder control, which is manual, tracking, and I don't know what manual speed, that doesn't make sense. But anyway, pressure mode. Now in manual mode, obviously you control the screw feeder speed manually, raise it up, down, whatever position you want it. In tracking mode, the screw feeder tracks whatever you've set the pump speed for. The screw feeder will do the exact same thing. They'll just go right along. In pressure mode, there's a pressure switch on the transition, which is in between the screw feeder and the pump. And what that's trying to do is trying to make sure, okay, you've got sludge and you're supplying enough sludge to the pump to run efficiently. So right now, I think we've got that set at 14 or something like that. So that screw feeder is going to run as fast as it needs to try to maintain that 14 PSI in that transition, which equates to a good filling of the pump itself. Right now the pump, when I left down there, the pump was set at 43, so we're running at 43% on the pump, which equates to approximately 4.5 strokes a minute, maybe pushing 5 strokes a minute, and the screw feeder is set at trying to maintain that pressure. It might run at 100%, it might slow way down to 30%. It'll track itself trying to maintain that pressure, trying to keep that pump filled. I like to maintain something there in front. I don't want to be able to see inside the tubes there the screws are entering. As long as there's something there and you can't see any tubage, you got good, you can't really stuff any more in there. And if it comes out, you get a little mound, a little bit of roll there, that's good. That's good. Obviously, you don't want to let it get too high. It's going to start coming up over the top. And clearly, you don't want to go too low or you're going to burn your rams up and eat your seats up. Neither one of those is good.
Is that 14 PSI factory set?
No, that is an adjustable point. Depends on the type of sludge you're getting, wet, dry, how fast you're going, all those different variables. So, sometimes you might want to set it to 20 in order to get what you're getting. Other times you'll be down to 9 or 10 in order to feed efficiently. At some point you'll see it, you'll hit that saturation point where you're running really good at 12. You want to try to go to 14 and it still just stays at 12. Yeah, you pretty much know that 12's it. So you can lower that down and kind of fudge with it so it'll float the screw speed a little bit so you don't wear your screws out quite as fast. Other times you just have to speed it up. Yeah, things just falling off in here. Wish my weight would. I lost my train. Anyway, so with that in mind, yeah, just make sure you keep that screw feeder. It's got some sludge you're feeding that pump. If you starve the pump, it's going to get mad and die on you. So when you first get down there, you've done your walk around, you've seen what everything you want to see on the, checked all your oil levels, made sure the greaser's doing its thing. You come in and you start your pump, so your hydraulic power pack, and that just starts the motor and has the oil circulating in the hydraulic tank. Go up and start your press, do whatever you got to do. Once you see sludge start dropping down into that hopper, come back down, press load, and that'll send hydraulic fluid to the hydraulic circuits of the pump, and it'll start operating at whatever preset speed you've given it, whether it's 20%, 40%. You'll get the feel of it as you've operated. Say you're going to run 130 GPM onto the press. Right now, that's what they're running down there, I think, and that equates to about 43% speed. And then, of course, the same thing with the pressure setting on the screw feeder. All these things you'll just come accustomed to as you operate and get more comfortable with it.
If you hit the tracking button, would that do it automatically for you?
Tracking is based on the pump speed. Whatever you set the pump speed for, that's locked in, just like it is in pressure mode. In tracking, the screw feeder will then do whatever you've set that pump speed for. It ignores whatever's going on in that pressure. So you walk away and that thing, it doesn't care if it's got sludge or too much, too little, it'll just run at that speed.
You can't pick up the pressure. You're running it for
Yeah, it
will it shut down?
No, it'll ignore that.
Oh, so it will drop below.
It could drop below, it could go much higher. It doesn't care, it ignores that pressure.
If you lost speed, it wouldn't shut down.
No, it'll run at whatever you set that pump speed for.
But then in turn, if the pressure switch craps out, it's gonna shut off.
If what?
Pressure switch dies.
The pipeline pressure switch?
No, not
Well, the hydraulic pressure, I mean?
the transition switch.
Oh, no, that you just won't.
Maintain its last.
Yeah. Well, if you're in pressure mode, well, let's do it at a time where they're not running a test.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that. I don't think that's got. I know it's not a part of any shutdown.
Right.
So
But I mean, it won't stop, will it stop the augers?
if you're in
It's not
pressure
seeing the
mode,
pressure.
if
Automatic, so you're
Yeah.
tracking it automatic.
hey, that's a good question. I'll have to, if you're in tracking, it's ignoring that pressure switch
But
anyway.
I mean, automatic
Yeah.
mostly just maintain it.
Yeah, if you're in auto pressure mode, then yeah, that's a good question. I'll have to check on that. I'll have to check that out because if it'll just keep that last pressure that you put in there, or if it'll just stop functioning, I'm not sure. That is a good question. We'll have to try that.
Questions?
Sure.
Hey, what would you prefer us running in, the tracking or the pressure at this point?
I prefer pressure.
Pressure?
Yeah, because that way, you can watch a couple of different things in pressure mode. You can kind of watch it in tracking mode also, or manual, it doesn't matter. But in pressure, it's a little more functional. You can see what's going on in your pressure. You've set that. You can watch your screw
It
speed.
will actually tell us if we get a drier cake, the pressure will change and then...
Yeah, it'll go up. And you'll see that change on your sludge flow measuring, your filling efficiency.
That's pretty much what I'm trying to get at, so that we get an idea of how the sludge quality is changing in the
Yep.
incinerator.
Yep.
And that will be under the pressure mode.
Yeah, and you'll be able to track that because, like today, I guess the sludge quality being supplied to the press isn't all that great. You got low on supply down there, I guess, and so we're going to see some variations in sludge quality, which you'll see pretty quickly as it gets to that screw feeder. It's going to want to speed up. If it, like right now, if it's running a little bit dry and they got that setting down low, it'll be always going really, really slow because it can make that pressure a lot easier, or it'll get too wet and it can't make it and it'll run really, really fast. It's kind of a hit and miss kind of deal. Hopefully it doesn't ever
Pretty
change.
much self-adjusts itself accordingly.
It'll do its best to maintain whatever pressure you put in it, whether it's slowing down or speeding up. Real heavy cake, real dry heavy cake, it's going to see that pressure real easy. And the screws will slow way, way, way down. And if you're not on top of it, pretty soon your hopper's going to be running over. That's the worst case scenario.
That would tell me if you build up a decent sized ball in the hopper, screws are gonna keep slowing down because it's gonna keep slowing up too easily.
Generally, yeah, you don't, yeah, yep. Because it thinks it's doing its job. It says, okay, I've got enough pressure, I don't need to go any faster. So yeah, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy there. So you got to stay on top of it. You got to stay on top of it. That's why you want to keep that pile low. You want to keep that hole filled, but you want to keep your pile real low. You got your shutdown indicators. They'll come right up on your screen. Low oil level will shut you down. High oil temp will shut you down. Dirty oil filter doesn't shut you down, but you get an alarm. High oil pressure, of course, shuts you down, and motor overload, of course, shuts you down. Sir?
Is the high oil pressure interconnected with the sludge line pressure?
They're directly related in that whatever it's taking to push out that sludge line, it's taking that hydraulic pressure to do it. So there is no
hydraulic pressure, and that was always telling us we had the line pressure.
It's the same thing, exactly.
Okay.
Just that now you've got a little easier indication of what your pipeline pressure is doing. You can watch that high oil pressure coming at you as compared to what the pipeline is. It's a 2-to-1, pretty much a 2-to-1 ratio between the two. So whatever your pipeline's doing, your hydraulics is double, and it's double plus. I can't remember the exact amount. It's 0.27 or 0.207, I think, is, rephrase. 2.07, I believe, is the ratio on this particular pump. So, or 0.2 or 2.27 or something. I got to look it up. But anyway, it's close to 2-to-1. This is another screen that you generally aren't even going to go to because this is more of a manual or in the tracking mode. You may use it, but again, you're going to probably be running in two specific modes. You're going to be in auto, or auto pressure, or you're going to be in manual, just for pre-maintenance. Rarely are you going to be in tracking mode. Some guys like it. Some guys really like tracking, and there again, it's going to be a preference.
Well, this tracking mode is the same as on swings we have now, the auto mode. We used to